As gaming franchises go, it gets no bigger than the Call of Duty series, and even though there's been some controversy about the development of the newest episode, it supposedly isn't really good, and you've been playing it. But before going into the overall, I think we should divide it up in two sections, because Call of Duty is pretty much single player and multiplayer. So start off with the single player.
It's a direct continuation of Modern Warfare 2, picks up pretty much right where that left off, which means obviously that the story is a load of crap. Modern Warfare 2 had the most illogical, nonsensical story in video game I've ever remember playing. Modern Warfare 3 isn't quite that bad, but still, as it's building upon 2, it doesn't make a lot of sense. The thing about the game really is that, at this point we know the tricks of Call of Duty so well that we see every time a twist happens, or you see that coming a mile away, and the way it tries to build tension with large explosions and helicopters falling out of the sky, almost crashing on top of you, or your main character drifting in and out of consciousness. We've seen that so many times, and the game still does that so many times throughout the entire campaign. That it just becomes silly.
Yeah.
Like almost every single level has a section that's where everything is exploding.
Yeah.
Half the levels have vehicle sections where you're either driving yourself or you're shooting as thousands of troops and helicopters or tanks are chasing you. And every third level, maybe every third or fourth, has a section where either ends or starts with your character sort of blacking out, coming into consciousness.
It kind of sounds like the old everything is at 11 problem.
Yeah, it is. It's like they haven't designed this game out of a less is more philosophy, but most is more. Anything that's worth doing seems worth overdoing. At least that's how they've designed it. So the story ends up being, and the actual campaign as such becomes rather silly. The whole narrative is you end up giggling and snickering more times than, oh, this is exciting.
Yeah, and it's probably pretty short as well, I imagine.
It's about the same length as the previous ones. But as dumb as it is, it's still pretty fun.
Yeah, should be said.
Yeah, I mean, Call of Duty is always, they got that shooting people in the face part right the first time around, and they've just been sort of honing that craft ever since. And when it comes to shooting endless amounts of enemy troops in the head or in the chest or whatever, Call of Duty is still pretty great.
Okay, so let's go into the multiplayer though, because I mean, we can say a lot about the single player, but the multiplayer really is where the Call of Duty series in general excels.
And they've never really changed multiplayer that much between the games, neither between the Infinity Ward or the Treyarch games. And it's more or less the same thing here, where they fix some issues, they polish it a little, they chop off a couple of the weak spots. So in general, it's pretty much the same experience as previously, which is a good thing. There's some new stuff, like a new killstreak system. They've tweaked, for instance, the nuke isn't as overpoweredly stupid as it was previously. You don't automatically win if you launch your nuke anymore. And there's a new couple of alternative systems for people who may not be that much into the usual kill streaks.
Yeah, that actually sounded really cool to me.
Yeah, there's like a support system where you get more. Well, you don't if you keep getting killed after shooting 2 guys, it's not that big of a problem because you can still make a difference with the system. And then they've added a new thing called Kill Confirmed, where you have to pick up the dog tags from where the guys you shoot in order to score points. So fights will break out over dog tags because people try to deny the other team the dog tags from the guys they shot. So that there are no like radical big changes to the formula, but that's okay.
Yeah, I was going to ask, does the series really need this?
Yeah, because I mean, there's a reason that Call of Duty is the biggest multiplayer game.
Precisely.
Because it's still tremendous amounts of fun, and you don't need to reinvent the wheel in that regard. And then there's Spec Ops.
Oh yes.
Spec Ops is back in 2 forms. There's co-op missions, which are awesome. Absolutely awesome. There are some brilliant moments, and I think there's 12.
It probably should be said that
16 co-op.
For those who haven't previously played Spec Ops, it is kind of side missions.
Co-op. It uses all the same maps from the single player campaign, but in new sort of variations or with new objectives, new goals, new twists. And there's a lot of variety to them, and there are some absolutely brilliant moments. There's one mission where one player is just trying to catch a train, pretty much. A subway train has to fight its way through a sort of shipping yard type place where the other player is in control of the security cameras, which are all mounted with miniguns.
Oh.
So you get 2 cameras and then you shoot a ton of guys, and then the other player hacks into a new camera system that you then control and then shoot a ton of guys as he's rushing to catch this train. And the first time I played that and I was mowing down like 10 guys in a row coming through the door, I was just laughing my ass off. And there's a lot of that sort of grandiose, really over the top, but really, really fun, crazy moment. There's another gunship mission where one guy's on the ground and the other guy's in a gunship. There's some stealth missions. There's pretty much everything, and there's a lot of variety to it and a lot of fun moments. And then there's the survival mode, which is horde mode.
Okay.
Which is good.
Yeah.
And really well done. You shoot waves of enemy troops, and then you buy upgrades, and then you shoot more waves of enemy troops, and then eventually you die, but try to stay alive as long as possible.
It pretty much sounds like when it comes to the multiplayer that they have more or less just put everything they could think of in the packet.
Yeah, it's the sort of thing where take what works. And if it's not broke, don't fix it, and then just add an extra layer of polish to it, and build on some of the experiences that they made. So it's not a revolution at all, but it's really, really good.
So we started off talking about that at least some of the development behind the game is done by a couple of new people. But is this still the same really solid Call of Duty game? And does it come off as being fatigued by now, or?
Call of Duty is rapidly approaching a point where they're gonna have to come up with something new.
Yeah.
But they're not quite there yet. I mean, this is a Call of Duty game for better or for worse, mostly better. And it is really, really fun, but I have a hard time seeing where they're gonna go from this, because something needs to happen soon, or else they're gonna be left behind the curve. But right now, it's fun.